Welcome to the Millennial Diner podcast. It's Jeff. I'm here at the diner with Phil as usual, and today we have Devin. Hey, Devin.
How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. You know what? I'm pretty hungry. I'm really excited. Flo's been waiting because we've been standing here and she keeps tapping her shoe on the floor. She's a little annoyed at us because we're just gabbing here and not actually ordering food. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to do a very traditional style diner breakfast today. I'm going to do a tofu scramble instead of eggs. I'm going to get some roasted potatoes with that. I'm going to get some tempeh bacon and a little cup of fruit. And I'm going to go with a black coffee today. No oat milk today.
Oh,
What?
thankfully, no oat milk today. All right.
No oatmeal? All right.
No oat milk. What about you, Devin? What are you going to have?
All right. So I've learned over the years I am not really a breakfast fan. So when I go to diners, I order a Reuben.
Hell yeah.
So a Reuben with coleslaw.
Oh, yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night. Perfect. So that's what I'm going with.
What are you going to drink with that?
Coffee.
You're going to have coffee with coleslaw?
There we go. Yeah.
Well,
I drink coffee all the time, man.
yeah, well,
Black coffee. You know, that's how I roll.
I love it.
I once worked with I'm gonna have rye toast with some butter and a black coffee. That sounds good. I used to work
What?
rye
No
toast. with
coleslaw?
butter.
No coleslaw?
No coleslaw.
No coleslaw?
No coleslaw. Not today, at least. Not right now. I'm not. I mean, I'm not. No, I'm okay. I had to think about it for a second, but no, I'm okay. I worked with a guy. He was a regional manager. He had coffee with everything, and so we would have random store meetings, and we're all getting pizza, and he's having pizza in this bubbly and hot coffee. It could be the middle of August, and he was still having hot coffee with everything he had.
Yeah.
So good for you. Go for it. I say go for it.
Hey, you know what? It's not loaded with sugar. I just put a Splenda in it. Black. Yeah. I can drink it all day. It's fine with me. I'll drink about 10 cups a day.
Do you
that
drink?
Is a lot.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Do you
That's
drink
a lot. Yeah.
into the night, or do you have a cutoff time?
I normally cut off right at dinner time. That's normally when I'm finishing that 10th cup.
Okay.
But yeah, I used to drink coffee at 10 o'clock at night. I'd just go to Seb's and grab a cup. So
That's true. I have stopped now because I was like, okay, because it would keep me up. So I started converting to, okay, I do decaf in the afternoon. But even then, now that has still got to me. And so now it's basically once I have finished the pot, so I make a 12 cup. And then my wife has about 2 of those cups and I have the rest. And that's usually by the time I get done, that's about noon. And that's about the last time I'll have coffee for the day.
see, I'll do 10 cups, but I'll do half strength. So
That's I do. Well, I guess it's 3/4 because I mix a half and then a full. So I guess it's a 3/4 or maybe a 5/8. I don't know. I need a mathematician on this one to figure out what the math is on that one.
Well, it also depends on how long it's dripping or how you do it, and so it could be stronger based on how much longer the water is taking to get through the coffee ground. So but
You sound like an engineer. Are you an engineer?
no, I'm a web designer. I just have lots of time to sit there and theorize how coffee gets brewed.
Well, you know what was a popular drink in 1989? I'm assuming coffee was, because it's been pretty popular for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to bring up the year
Couple
1989.
years. Yeah, a couple of years.
I
Why
want-
1989, Jeff?
Well, I want to take us back in a time machine. We rarely talk about the 80s on this show. We're very much mostly late 90s, 2000s. But occasionally we'll dip into the earlier 90s. But today we are going way back to 1989. A fascinating year in history. There's some really huge events. But before we get to the huge events, I just want to rattle off a couple of movies that are out to get us in the headspace. We had The Little Mermaid came out in 1989.
Oh, that's right.
Classic.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, right. Okay.
I have an 8-year-old daughter. I watch that just about every couple of months.
Excellent. Still holds up. Well, no, it's not. It's kind of weird messaging.
Yeah, there's
actually.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit of throw your life away for a man. No, maybe don't do that. But anyway,
The remake was they changed that a little bit, but
I haven't seen the remake yet. I really want to watch it though. It's good. Did you like it?
It wasn't too bad. I mean,
Yeah.
it's something you watch once or twice. You're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But
They didn't go back to the original ending where the Little Mermaid is just throws herself back into the ocean, becomes foam, right?
no,
They haven't done that version yet.
That's probably good. It's probably a good thing. I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
because she never gets with the guy, and then is so distraught. I think that's what it is. She's so distraught she throws herself into the
You're
ocean.
talking about the original Hans Christian
Yeah, the
Andersen.
Hans Christian Andersen one. Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting? It's so funny because that came out in '89, and this year we're recording this 2023. A new Little Mermaid came out. Also, what came out in '89 was Batman by Tim
That's
Burton,
right. I was waiting for that
Michael
one, yeah.
Keaton is Batman again in the Flash movie. So that's kind of crazy. 2023, and then When Harry Met Sally, also 1989. So you really get some classics came out that year in
Oh, yeah.
the cinema. And then there were some important events worldwide. The fall of communism, I guess, it's happened. The Berlin Wall came down.
Berlin Wall came down. Man, that was a
Yeah.
big deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
and at some point in November 1989, Taylor Swift was born. So really huge
I was
year.
waiting.
The
Yeah, I
wall
was waiting,
fell, and
waiting,
then
yeah.
the world changed, and
Yeah.
Tay-Tay came about.
Yeah. So that really an impactful year on a society.
Mhm.
But we are talking about that because today we're going to actually talk about The Cure's, dare I say, masterpiece, Disintegration, which came out that year. But before we totally dive into the album of the day, we should get to know Devin a little bit here. Devin is a huge Cure fan, loves this album. So he was definitely our top choice to talk about it. But we want to hear a little bit more about how your music taste got shaped and kind of where you landed in your musical journey that brought you at a certain point to the scene itself.
So it's an interesting journey because I guess growing up I was kind of a sheltered kid, you could say. Like my parents only listened to oldies. So I was always in the car listening to B103 or CBS 101 FM down in listening to like oldies and doo-wop because that's what my dad liked, Buddy Holly and things like that. My mom was a Beach Boys fan, so we always sang Beach Boys. I mean, like I got Beach Boy albums for Christmas, like Beach Boys in concert, and Beach Boys Christmas albums. I'm like, great, cool. 12-year-old walking around with Beach Boy albums. That's really, really awesome.
I mean, Pet Sounds is pretty awesome.
Well, but they had
Pet Sounds is amazing. I love Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
I'm not dissing it, but like,
and they had a resurgence when we were kids because you had them on was Kokomo was on the cocktail soundtrack, I think what it was something like that.
Yeah, with Tom Cruise. Was
that
that
nice? Was that 1999 as well? Yeah.
Is that 89 as well? Oh my
I think
God.
so, yeah.
All these things.
Yeah, and Billy Joel Stormfront.
But yeah, so like I didn't get exposed to a lot of different music. Like Doug and I have to preface this, I have a twin brother. And so Doug and we would kind of like go try to listen to radio stations, but like we only had the radio clock radios, the alarm clocks. And it would never pick up anything from the city. So we could only get a station from Connecticut. And so they were like a hard rock station, like, ooh, cool. So we got to listen to like Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilots. And so for a while, I was kind of like a hard rock fan. I mean, we got Green Day, we got Dookie in like 95. I think and it came out in 94. I think we got 95, Offspring. So kind of just slowly, whatever got popular on a radio station is what we were exposed to. And then like 1996 came around and my parents finally decided it was time to get cable. I don't know why they held out for that long, but we got the dish because my parents refused to pay Cablevision. They did not like Cablevision. So we got the dish.
Who does? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Who does?
Exactly. But like on the DirectTV, we got like MTV2. And I was like, whoa, like what is going on here? Because like MTV by that point in time, you'd have like your hour block of singles they play. You'd have like TRL, I think. But otherwise it was just shows. I don't think they really did a ton of music. So MTV2 is where they pushed all their music stuff over to. And they had popular blocks, but then they had like these throwback blocks. And I would just like sit there and watch it. And it was like, it would go through like The Cure, Depeche Mode, going back like even to like the beginning, like they would play like the Bangles, like the Video Killed the Radio Star, I think. That's the Bangles, right? Like, so it was just like, let's just go back through all of our catalog and do things. And so I was like I love this music. Like this is awesome. It's fun. It's exciting. I mean, I was exposed a little bit by my sister, who's like 8 years older, but she was like a Stevie Nicks fan, so lots of Fleetwood Mac, and
cool.
and like hair bands. So like Bon Jovi, she was a huge Bon Jovi fan. But like you have all those things, but like I really gravitated towards the like post-punk new wave kind of music that was out there, because it was just, I don't know, it was just different. It was fun, it was experimental, and it was also deep and like artistic in a way. And like The Cure for me was one of those bands that really kind of stood out. So I remember like 1996, I rode my bike down to Nobody Beats the Whiz up in Lake Grove, because that was where, close to where I was. And I went and I bought Disintegration. And I hate to say I lost that album. I lost it when I sold one of my cars, but I did repurchase it, because I was like, man, how could I lose that album? I left it in the freaking disc changer before I sold it. But yeah, no, like that was my first Cure album. And it really just kind of just set that kind of stage for me. I mean, I don't know, like it's just it talks to me. It speaks to me. It speaks to who I am, this tortured kind of soul in a way. Just like all the Cure kind of albums, they all have their high points and their low points in terms of the melodies and the lyrics, and it just kind of works. And then of course I met Jeff. Well, no, not necessarily I met Jeff, but because we'd known each other in high school. Same thing with Phil. I remember you from elementary school. I think we go back to like first grade.
We go back to first grade. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And for folks at home, and it makes it on even more of a precedent, because alphabetically speaking, Devin and Doug would always sit in front of me, because they were KE and I was KO, so they always sat in front of me.
Yeah. So it's like, hey Phil, turn back.
Always how it was. Always how it was.
Well, it's I love that journey you went on. First of all, I'll just say Cocktail came out in 1988, folks. So
it was 88.
yeah.
It's the Buggles who did
the Buggles.
Buggles, yeah.
Buggles. Bangles, I think, are like an
Egyptian, yeah.
Yeah, like
Egyptian.
Yes.
But the names sound the same. But that
Buggles,
was
Bangles.
Buggles. That's the first video ever played on MTV.
Yeah.
Yep. And then but just to give Tom Cruise's credit, his 1989 movie was Born on the 4th of July. So
that's a big one too.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's so interesting how you found it through MTV too. I didn't really get into any of this kind of music until after I was well into punk and emo.
Mm-hmm.
And I started hearing the Cure referenced by a lot of the bands I liked as their favorite band.
Yeah.
Like I know Mark Hoppus from Blink-182 has talked about being a huge Cure fan, because he's more age appropriate when the Cure was happening, I think. Yeah. For me, it was kind of like a backward thing, like where I'm like, oh, all these emo bands like the Cure, I should like the Cure. But then like I like went to see them, and like I was like more like, oh, I'm just gonna check this off my list. And it took years before it finally opened itself up to me, where I was like, oh wait, I love this.
Yeah.
And it was a long study to get into it for me.
Yeah.
But now
I was the same. Yeah, I was the same. I went backwards. I remember liking bands who liked the Cure. Like I think my roundabout way was through my older sisters, because Liz would play. She would drive me to school when we were in 9th grade. She was in 12th grade. That was 1 year she got to drive me to school, and she would play Nine Inch Nails all the time. And I know how much of an effect the Cure was on Nine Inch Nails. They actually even played a little bit at the same time. And then my sister Jen was very much into the Sith world of post, what do you call that, post Sith, whatever it is. So I got into that with that
Dark Wave.
I don't know. Dark Wave sounds like a
punk new wave.
Let's do post-punk new wave. I think that's kind of where I rolled in with that. So I came to the Cure very late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Very late in the game.
Yeah. Whereas for me, like I went and I picked up Thursday, like Full Collapse, the record album, and on the cover, it's got the sticker. It's like the Joy Division of the 2000s. I'm like, I know Joy Division. Like I know Ian Curtis. Like,
yeah.
If anything, Waiting is much more in line with like Joy Division, then full collapse.
Actually, 100% is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's much more in line. Yeah, it's funny how they've changed. They've
That-
gone a different sound later on.
I
Yeah.
said that poor band, what they were put up, the expectations put on that band, the new
Yeah.
Joy Division, and then when they signed their major label, if you read Dan Ozzy's book,
Dan Ozzy's book, once
Sell
again,
Out,
let's reference
which
it,
we mention all the time. They talk about how like when Island signed them, they were like, "You're gonna be the next Nirvana."
Yeah.
Like that was like, and it's just like,
Yeah.
man, just let Thursday be Thursday.
Thursday, yeah, exactly. Don't try to fit them into a box.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, the other thing you're talking about when you're talking about the genre, I think we're all stepping around the G word here, but you know, when I think of Cure, I think of goths.
I think
And
it's goth. This is like the starting point of goth world. Yes, it is.
Yes.
well, it's like the pop goth too. Well, they're interesting because like their early albums, especially the big trilogy, the second, third, and fourth, are dark, like really like those albums are incredible, but you don't come out of those albums feeling good at the end. Like, and then they like have this second act of their career where they become a sensational pop band.
Right.
And like write some of the most incredible pop, like Friday I'm in Love. I that song is cheesy as hell, but man, do I love that song. Like it just and like but they're not like, I shouldn't say like they're not like cheesy pop. That's not fair. They're really talented songwriters.
Exactly.
Especially Robert Smith. Yeah.
I think Robert Smith was like, you know what? I've done this dark stuff now. Like, let me prove to you I can write this happy stuff too. You're like, I can do all these things. Don't try to categorize me as just goth, right? Or just dark or melodramatic. Like I can do all these these good things too. Or these pop songs. So yeah, he definitely broadened himself out and, you know, could show the variety that definitely helped carry that band all the way through instead of like just being pigeonholed into you're just this.
Is the word didn't have its meaning we have it now. Back when the Cure was in their heyday, though they are still awesome. So I wouldn't say their heyday is over. I just saw them a couple months ago and they are fucking incredible live. Like absolutely stellar. His voice sounds exactly as it did back in the 80s. It's insane. Would you call Robert Smith and the Cure emo?
Proto emo.
Proto emo?
Proto
Yeah.
emo, yeah. I mean, it's just like how you can beat wise, you can see post punk new wave morph into the industrial and slightly in the goth, you know, morph into the goth world. You kind of can see that slide happen, but at the same time, I feel you can see from goth slide into emo, you know, also at the same time, and also post punk and new wave slide into emo and all that. So yes, I won't say they are a straight emo band because I feel like emo is just kind of taking over the like the phrase alternative for the newer bands. But I feel I like Devin. I agree with your phrase. I like proto emo. That sounds good.
And also too, think of it like the late 90s when emo really started to kind of take off, right? Or the 2000s. Goth had a different connotation. Like when I think goth in the late 90s, I'm thinking kids who love Marilyn Manson, industrial music, you know, just want to wear black and just be like dicks, I guess, in a way. You know, that's not the Cure kind of goth. Like I'm gonna rip my heart out and bare it to you, my soul kind of thing.
If you really want to see the perfect example of Cure goths, you should watch South Park and watch the Goth Kids episodes. I feel like those kids nail the Cure goth of it all because they're very sad, they're very moody, and they're like they hate the world. And
exactly.
So it just morphs into emo down 10 years later. I mean, 89 to 99. So yeah, a decade later, we have the next. It's like Pokemon. They've evolved into the next
second form,
next form, and that would be the emo kids of the late 90s and 2000s.
Well, there literally is a South Park episode about goth kids versus emo kids, and someone has to kind of like explain, like, you guys are the same, basically. And there's like a war between goth and emo. Yeah. It's a great episode.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love it.
There's so much that goes back to South Park. It's amazing.
Hey, the show has been on for decades.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can make the episodes 8 days before they air, I don't know if you ever saw that documentary, which is insane how they do it. They can be so topical, which is like the only it's like the only animated show that can be that. Literally, they're talking about stuff happening in the world like when they're making the episodes, which is really cool. Okay, so the Cure is very important. You mentioned some other bands in there. If you were to make a Mount Rushmore of bands, we're getting those presidents off there. We don't need their faces up there. We're not, and you know what? We're not even gonna carve it into a real mountain. We're gonna like leave nature alone. We'll just build an artificial mountain and put it up. Who would you put on?
A waxed mountain, so it can
it could be a wax,
reformed.
Yeah.
So for me, the number one album of all time for me is Radiohead's OK Computer. Absolutely love everything about it except for Fitter Happier. Like I will.
You don't like Fitter Happier?
I don't need to hear the robotic voice. It's just, but everything else to me, the one album that gives me absolute chills when I listen to it, you know, and I love even just the bonus stuff that came out, like Polyethylene. Or just that period for Radiohead was absolutely amazing. So for me, OK Computer, because I have like memories of listening to it, you know, it's attached to certain episodes of my life. And I get to, when I listen to it again, it just gives me the chills. And just, yeah, I mean, it's that is my number one. Number two,
hard to beat that one.
Yeah, no,
hard to beat.
It is. And I will preface this. A lot of the bands that are on my Mount Rushmore, I have still yet to see.
Oh,
so Radiohead is one of them. The second album for me is Thursday, Full Collapse.
Nice.
Nice.
That one, yet again, too, I listen to it. I'll get that chill in my body where it's just like, this is really just connecting with me. I love just basically all the songs. It's one of the ones that are always playing in my car. So, you know, I have a couple of albums on my phone. And Thursday's one of them. Whenever it's just like, I just need to listen to something, pop it in, boom, and it's there and it's great. So Thursday, I have seen them. The third one is Depeche Mode Violator.
Ooh.
That is fantastic. I hate to keep saying it gives me chills, but like there are certain songs in there where it's just like, and yet again, a lot of them are attached to memories and emotions and things like that. And, you know, Enjoy the Silence, Halo. I love Halo on that album. It's just, yet again, it's one of those great albums you can listen to front to back, really no skips, unless you want to kind of skip some of the dead parts, because there are some lead-ins. So yeah, I mean, Depeche Mode, that's one I have, yet another artist I have not seen. And it's kind of hard. I live in Syracuse, so like I can go to Toronto, it's going to take me 3 hours. I can go to Montreal, it's going to take me 3-4 hours. I can go to New York City, it's going to take me 3 to 4 hours. You know, so I'm in the middle of kind of a dead, I don't want to say dead zone, because we have some bands that come around, but
I was going to say, I think Thursday is coming soon.
I have to double check. Yellow Card's actually coming next week.
Oh, sick!
See, there you
but
go.
I got something to do.
Yeah, but if you can get to the Thursday show, it's a smaller show. There's a hardcore band opening for them called Gel, who I am obsessed with.
Okay.
Yeah, they are like I got to see. I just got to see them last weekend when we're recording this, and I was like, oh, this is like the hardcore band of the moment. It's awesome. So I'm pretty sure I saw Syracuse on there, because in my head I'm like, oh, if I flew out to Syracuse, I could visit Devin and go see Thursday.
Yeah. Well, not growing up here, but when I went to college here and stayed, like a lot of the bands you have to go to see, they're out in Rochester, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's only 90 minutes, but you know, you get married, you have jobs. It's just like you can't just drop everything, go out to Rochester and see a show. So I have to kind of wait for them to kind of slide in here.
Oh, that's why I go to so many shows. I'm not married and don't have a job.
Well, it becomes an event. It's like, well, who's watching the kids? Who's watching the dog? Who's doing,
yeah.
So, and then the fourth one, I love The Cure. I love Disintegration. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to think, what am I for, right? And you said I could have a fifth, right? So like Disintegration, but I also like Wish a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do skip a couple more songs in Wish than I do Disintegration. So it's it could be that, or this curveball that just came out of my brain when I was trying to think of this. Everclear, Sparkle and Fade.
Wow. Did not expect an Everclear.
Did not
reference.
expect Everclear. Yeah.
It was one of the first albums that Doug and I had, and actually Doug had bought it. And I love that album, front to back, every song. I mean, I love Heart Spark Dollar Sign, Heroin Girl. It's a fantastic song.
That's
I
a
mean,
good song.
everyone knows Santa Monica, but like there are so many other good tracks on that album. And it, yet again, it's just like it reminds me of growing up, listening to it, singing really badly to Art Alexicus, as my parents are driving, like just shut up, you know. Yeah, no, they used to call my music Wounded Cow music because I just, so I made mixes called, you know, Wounded Cow Mix 1, Mix 2, and I put all my greatest hits on there. But yeah, like that is probably one of the albums. If I popped it on right now, I could sing every word on that because I just would listen to it over and over again, in like 95, 96 when it came out.
So would you put Everclear over The Cure? The single album, I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a tough one because it's like I love The Cure, but I love a lot of The Cure. Like I could listen to like 5 or 6 different albums and I'm like, you know, this one to me feels like at the moment. This one's at the like, whereas like Everclear, that one album kind of for me goes above it, but in the aggregate, like Cure is better. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's the thing. And so I guess if I had a choice for 5, then yeah, probably Everclear would be number 5. But you know,
And what would you have? Was it Wish or Disintegration? Would be
Disintegration, because I
the
do
Cure
skip
album.
over Friday a lot in Wish.
Yeah.
I'm offended.
Yeah, it's just like, nope, okay, on to the next.
Have you
I
heard
love
the
that.
Phoebe? Have you heard the Phoebe Bridgers cover of Friday I'm in Love?
I have not.
Pretty great.
But to me, that's like the song everyone knows of The Cure, and I'm like, there's so many other good songs. Just skip.
I like how you approached this one, where it was more. You went even one deeper than you were like. I'm gonna go in album by the band. I think that's an interesting way, a cool way of doing about this. I love Depeche Mode Violator being on there because talk about a pop band that went darker
Mhm.
as the years went on. Like you go back
Yeah.
and you watch early videos of Depeche Mode doing Just Can't Get Enough, and they're like bopping around wearing like suits.
Mhm.
And then you get to Violator, and they've abandoned that. They're like wearing black jeans and like leather motorcycle jackets, and I'm like, I'm here for that. I love
Yeah,
that transition that they did.
I mean that album was absolutely amazing. It set them up as an arena rock band.
Right? Yeah.
Unfortunately, Dave Gahan felt he had to be the rock star, so that's Songs of Faith and Devotion comes after that, and it's like really hard and gritty, and he's really kind of trying to lean into this like I'm a real rock star
Mm,
kind of a thing, and it didn't do as well. He also almost just destroyed his career with heroin. So like Ultra came out in like 97, 98, as kind of a rebuild, and that's kind of not where they are now, where it's kind of like, all right, I know who I am.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that was a good period for Depeche Mode. Violator, what's the 101 I think came out before that. I mean, Black Celebration's a great track. You know, there's so many great things that Depeche Mode has. But yeah, the earlier stuff is definitely much more interesting. Speak and Spell, you know, People Are People, Masters and Servants, People Are People. You know, they're catchy pop songs, but there's not as much depth. Once you get into
Right.
Violator, the depth is there.
The depths, which is funny because I like how you just said that because it actually makes me think of Disintegration by The Cure,
Mhm.
where it's the 8th album by them. Like we're
Yeah.
deep into a career, and I think they did talk about they wanted this album to kind of have the mood of 82's Pornography, that kind of
Mhm.
mood. Whatever that mood is, the mood, the mood. They recaptured that with this album, but I feel like there's also some decent, like some good pop songs on this. So I think
Yeah.
they
Oh, yeah.
found that
They
balance.
found the balance.
Right
Exactly.
Yeah.
between like doing what I mean, not like what I want to do versus what the record company wants to do, but more maybe it is sort of that balance. I want to find the vibe of like, look, I want some success. I want to write good pop tunes that people are going to like and appreciate, but I also want to set a tone with
Exactly. I want to speak to who I am as an
right.
artist. I
Yeah.
just don't want to write 100 poppy or an album of poppy songs. I want to actually have some songs with depth and meaning.
Well, and that's where I think, but both on this and Wish, they hit that balance completely perfect. Like I always like to think about bands. We've talked about this before. Like what album is the band building towards, like their whole career towards?
Mhm.
And it feels like if you look at The Cure, they were building towards Disintegration and The Wish. Like these were like this is what the evolution was leading to, and you could see the pieces of these albums in previous albums, but they all kind of coalesced here.
And you know what's sad nowadays is there's not a lot of bands that have that ability to on their 8th album have a massive hit, and their 9th album following with Wish as well. A lot of bands, you get 1-2 shots. If you don't do it, you're gone, right? I mean, it's always been the way in music, but like there's always like The Cure has that lasting power. I mean, U2 has that lasting power. Rolling Stones has that lasting power. I don't know of any bands since in the past 20 years that really have that much lasting power, except for Tay-Tay, right?
Right. I mean, she's really like only like literally she's celebrating these eras, and that's what she does. She like reinvents herself every album in a certain and just gets bigger and bigger with it. The other thing I thought, which it's really hard for bands, if you look at bands, let's face it, most bands, they only have 2 or 3 good albums.
Yeah.
And like, how many bands do we love who are putting out albums every 2 years, every 3 years, especially like punk bands and stuff, and you're just like, it doesn't hit me like your earlier albums did.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not like they haven't changed their talent level. It's just like they kind of just like some artists only have so many in them, right?
Good
I will preface Deftones.
Yeah.
Deftones albums, as they get older, they're still just as good. Like there's something about their mix. They've got it. I mean, I like Ohms, I like Gore, Yokinan. Like those are great albums. I mean, not as good as I think, I like Diamond Eyes way more than people like, but some of their earlier stuff, their earlier stuff. I mean, post Adrenaline.
Okay.
But I mean, they had that drop like Saturday Night Wrist. I think they're all kind of where are we going? Who are we going to be in the next 10 years? And I think they figured out that mix, and they've been able to carry through. So that's one band I think, even though they don't necessarily have the radio play, I guess you could say, they've been able to carry a consistent fan base all the way throughout.
Yeah, I would say that about Bad Religion. I mean, ironically, wearing a T-shirt, but like I feel like they still put out good albums, but sure, the fan base may be getting smaller, admittedly. They're not as big on the radio play, but again, I think there are bands out there who can, even 20, 30 years. Then again, I don't think Bad Religion got going until they were 10 years in. Like 89 is when they got going. And ironically enough, 89, I just brought another reference to this year. So I just, sometimes it just takes a little while and goes from there. Let me ask you guys a question. The Rolling Stones, to talk about how important this Disintegration, the album is. Rolling Stone ranked it as one of the top 500 albums ever.
Yeah.
Do you know where would you think it would land? Any number. From 1 to 500. Where do you think it lands?
I know they keep changing the rankings.
They do. So let's go with the one I have written down at the moment.
They're in the top one. It's gotta be the top 100, right?
It's not in the top 100.
I think it's like
close.
Top 250.
It's definitely top 250. So top 250, but greater than 100.
189. We'll go with the year.
Ooh,
that's a good one. 189. Jeff, what about you?
Well, that was pretty good. 1, 2, 3. 123.
That's awfully close. It's 116 is what I have written down. 116.
Okay, that's actually pretty close to the top 100.
That is pretty close to the top 100. Yeah, I would say it's not far off. So I think that's pretty amazing that this band, 8th album, ends up writing something of such importance.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, they had mastered their craft. I mean, and granted, what's really strange is through the whole evolution of the Cure. I mean, people drop in, drop out. I mean, Robert Smith being one of the most consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the consistency throughout, but you can plug certain people in, get that kind of energy, that vibe, and then they kind of transition out, you get someone else in. But the overall scope of it is still, they are all Cure albums. They're all fantastic.
Yeah. I would say this is a gloomy album, I would describe it as. Moody. It's a journey.
Somber, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some sorrow in here. There's anguish. I mean, it's got all those fun feelings. So why don't we dive in a little bit here? Phil, do you want to like talk us through how we're going to handle the songs in this? Because we discovered there's some interesting things have happened.
There's specific things have happened. So looking into the album, because admittedly the first time I ever listened to this album way back when was on CD. Original press of the record on vinyl is doesn't have all the same songs you would have seen on the CD. So it goes on the CD, the 2 extra songs are Last Dance and Homesick, neither of which appear on the original press of the vinyl. And so because we're like in this kind of wish-wash little world, I'm debating how to approach it. So it goes, where was Last Dance come in? Last Dance comes in as track 5, and then Homesick would be track 11, none of which those don't appear on the vinyl. So I think we're going to do an amalgam of the two instead of being a traditionalist and kind of full traditionalist on this one, just doing tracks 1 through 10. I think we'll take one song from the bonus track and put that on, and we'll talk about that one. And we'll get to that when we get to it.
We get to rock, paper, scissors, which one it is?
No, I already know which one it is. I already know which one it is.
Oh, so you stacked the deck? No,
I have stacked the deck, and I made that decision. I think if it's okay with you guys, I like to talk about Last Dance over Homesick.
Sounds great.
That sounds good.
What's plain and simple for us to know that Plain Song is always the first track on the album. So we can dive right in there with confidence. Plain Song. The two words that I have for this opening of this song and pretty much the whole thing is spellbinding and magical. That's what I feel when this song starts. When this album starts.
The album starts. I feel like because it takes a 2-minute like build up and it's kind of quiet for 2 minutes, and then like the it comes in hot and heavy with the synth right after that.
We got chimes in the beginning and
I feel like it's like a movie that's kind of like, here's the opening credits and then in comes a sit. That's like the start of the movie itself. That's not just it's very big. It's a very simple song with lyrics you could barely understand because they're like whispering it the entire time, but it's very big. It's very big.
Yeah,
it reminds me a lot of
it sets the tone for the rest of the album.
Having since we started kind of doing this podcast, like really looking at structures of songs and things, I'm really struck. I mean, I never really thought about it until I'm looking at it. They don't always have choruses. Usually they don't. They just do like verses and then like a bridge and then like they're done. It's like sometimes it's just one verse. It's like really interesting how structurally he writes his songs.
Well, it makes me wonder, because I know, speaking of Thursday a little earlier, Thursday was one of those bands where the band wrote music, Jeff wrote lyrics, and then they would come together to see where it matches. And I wonder if that's a similarity. I mean, they do list out everybody in the band as crediting as writing credits, which I always love when bands do that. But I feel like Robert came to them with this poem. And then the band's like, cool. And then they built something around it. Or maybe they came to him with like, we've got this. What do you got that matches that? Because it has that kind of feel to it, except for the pop tunes. Because the pop tunes are very pop tune format.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are just, they feel like vignettes that are, here's this moody, dark, somber, but yet transitory. I don't know. It's an interesting vibe. This band.
Well, I don't even think it's necessarily that Robert Smith comes in with like a poem or a set of lyrics, because he's also a brilliant musician.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, you're right.
So I think he's coming in with ideas for how all the melodies should come together and things like that. And then it's more like, all right, well, now figure out the bass line based on what this is, right? So
Okay.
yeah, probably breaking up like various parts, like the keyboards, figure out the drums, things like that. But I think he's got a bigger vision, and he kind of can convey that musically to the other components of the Cure. Because yet again, as I said, like before, like there's people that come in and out all the time. So it's more about like who can you fit in, and where do they want to take this musically differently than before. But I think, as I said, like Robert Smith is the grand orchestrator of all of this.
Mm.
So, but yeah, no, I mean,
Even
But-
lyrically,
Yeah.
it's coming in somber. Like it's
Yeah.
dark and it's
It is.
raining and like even it's cold, and it's cold only because you said you were dead and he was a smile. It's funny. The lyrics made me think of Alkaline Trio song Dead End Road. I think that's what it was. I kept thinking about Dead End Road when I was hearing this again. It's just the way it is. Also, can we talk about how much this album was an influence on AFI? Just I don't even know if Davey ever listened to it. I'm assuming he did.
Of course he did. Yeah.
But this is like
Oh, yeah.
it's funny because we talked about earlier in the show. Do we think that the Cure is an emo band? And no, proto emo, sure, but like how many goth emo bands, hard punk bands, have heard this album and was like, I like this. I'm gonna run with elements of it.
Yep.
I heard a podcast. I think it was Mark Hoppus' podcast actually with Davey.
Yeah.
And I had never known this, but I guess in 2004-ish, there was like a big concert event celebrating the Cure, and bands who were influenced by them and who were hopping off at the moment got to play Cure songs for Robert Smith in the audience, and AFI covered Just Like Heaven, which you can actually see the video on YouTube. It's incredible. But Davey also talked about like, what that felt like to have to sing Robert Smith's brilliant song to him.
To him. Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
So it's really bad. But yeah, I Cure to AFI, especially later AFI. Talk about another band who just evolves and evolves every album. There's that's very strong connection. Like it's very much there. And I think that it's just because like this album in particular, a lot of Cure songs, the way they just tap into the despair and melancholia of just like but with a beautiful musical landscape. It's really like you're getting so many different kinds of feelings, but they're all working together.
Yeah.
And that song, that's why I feel that song. And like Phil, you mentioned with the lyrics about the weather, like you're getting a feeling. You feel cold. You feel the rain, and the rain's a big thing in this album. Like this is a rainy day album, and the songs remind you that there's rain. There's literally a song with rain, coming up.
And I feel like this is right out of the gate, you're getting a song about. I feel like a relationship that's talked about on the B side of this album, where because on the B side you get 4 songs that take as much as the previous 6, and I think this is like, I don't know, part of the story that happens more on the second side of the album. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think we're kind of setting well, I mean,
are you table setting? Are we setting the table for the whole album?
I think we are, because there is, I mean, when we get to the second track soon, I mean, that one is really about a relationship. That's a song I understand. Like we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. In fact, should we just play Plain Song, because we got to like set the table for everybody? Yeah. All right. So here it goes. Just so you know, when I hear the opening of this song, I feel like I'm in a dreamscape. I see sparkly lights, and I close my eyes and I just sway. So I hope you will do that at home as well. All right. Here is Plain Song by The Cure. And that was Plain Song. We are now in this album. We're going to go on to track 2 now, Pictures of You, another absolutely beautiful song. I feel like The Cure has a guitar tone that's very The Cure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like
Dreaming, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very distinct tone that they use. And this album especially, you'll notice at home that these songs are quite long for the most part. What I think that it does, it's a hypnotic effect, their music, especially on this album. There's like repetition, and it just kind of like, I don't know, it does feel like they're kind of like moving you into the feeling that he wants you to feel, right? And he's just kind of like leading you there, and doing it with the repetition of the guitar
sound,
sounds.
the sound, because
the bass,
yeah,
it's clean. It kind of just leads you in. Yeah, it's just like it invites you in deeper into the song, where you then get the layered effect of the two guitars, the keyboards, the drum. Yeah,
because they're not like a guitar hooky riff kind of band.
no,
That's not their vibe, which is fine, and I'm here for it, because I like kind of just setting a tone, a vibe, and but it moves. It's like it's a fluidity. We're gonna bring in water elements now, so there's like a fluidity to the music. How it just kind of coast your way on to the next part. It, like, because there's very little. If I remember right, there's very little break between each song. It's almost like there's like a half break, it's barely a breath.
Yeah.
So which kind of makes it like this new age orchestral piece, right? Like Mozart wrote their suites and sonatas and stuff, and they were long songs with very little break in between the set the pieces of it.
Yeah,
And I feel that's kind of the same with The Cure.
Yeah, it's also kind of concepty in a way, because they almost in a way they plan to figure out how to lead you from one song to the next. There's not just the hard breaks. Everything kind of has a leading, even if it mellows down for a little bit and then it picks up. But it's not just instantaneously like a lot of punk albums where it's like boom, next album, next song, next song.
Right.
Well,
there's always a good segue.
Yeah, no, and I think part of the segue is how they often will spend 2 minutes just instrumental, kind of leading you in. Again, like you said earlier, Phil, I think with about how it's like a movie. Like it really does feel like you're like opening credits almost of the song, and but it's setting the mood for the entire song. So by the time the lyrics come in, you're already your heart is primed for them, these lyrics. And then this one, you have this instrumental intro. It's very beautiful, hypnotic, like I said, and then all of a sudden you get lyrics like, "I've been looking so long at these pictures of you that I almost believe that they're real. I've been living so long with my pictures of you that I almost believe that the pictures are all I can feel." Like, oof, there's some tense longing here.
Yeah, there's a lot of longing. And do you think is he talking about a dead person, or is it just a relationship that's dead?
I think it's relationship. I mean, it could be that he's almost like not knowing Robert Smith, but like knowing his music and reading up about him. Like a lot of times, like in a way, it is kind of like if I was dead, like then he sets himself up in the song, like singing to him or whatnot. It could be that, it could be the lost lover that is looking at Robert Smith being passed away and just looking at these photos and things like that. Who knows? To be honest. I mean,
it's vaguely fun. Like reason why, because he brings
let's psychoanalyze Robert Smith right now.
Oh my gosh! That'll be like, we're gonna need another show. I think the reason why I asked that is just I know it's the death of your heart is what he's referring to, and that like that you look pale, right? It was stone white, so delicate. It's like so precious. Just even the way he described his use of imagery is really, really good. He gets a lot in a very short amount of words, which I love that in as a former writer myself, that I appreciate those who go for the least amount of words for the most amount of effect. And I like the stone white, so delicate, lost in the cold. Again, we're bringing up the cold element. So it's just, and then the courage to let it all go. I think that's what I was like, I wonder if this is like someone who has died. He's looking at him because all he has left now is the pictures of it. But it could also be at the end of a relationship, because I've had that too. Where you look at the pictures of a ex-girlfriend or whatnot.
Right words.
Yeah.
I adore this line too. "And we kissed as the sky fell in, holding you close. How I always held close in your fear." Like, it's really about like. The sky fell in. I don't know. It just like
everything. I don't know. Went in with them. I don't know. It's like and they're this most central thing ever.
They're like a black hole. That's something they create. Yeah.
Oh, that would be on par though, because what's a black hole? It just sucks in all the energy and light there is in the universe. Yeah. So like that kind of fits. Why not? There's like it's like a true, what was it, the Romantics? Yeah, where it's like Hawthorne romantic, right? Right. It's like real romantics where it's like painful.
Yeah.
Romantics is like what's on display.
You guys want to listen to pictures of you?
You gotta.
You got it. All right. I'm gonna play pictures of you, and then I'm going to look at pictures of Phil.
While doing it. So folks know, remember this is like a 7-minute song. So just get ready, get in,
Get a
grab
nice
coffee,
blanket.
and
you know,
then
Yeah.
remember to, and grab pictures of
Umbrella.
somebody and look at them.
I have plenty of pictures of Phil. If anybody wants them, I'll send them to you.
Can I have a picture?
No, you can't have a picture of yourself. Here is pictures of Phil. I mean, pictures of you by The Cure. And that was pictures of you. Any final thoughts on pictures of you before we move on to track 3?
I feel
Only I
bad.
thought of the right words.
Oh,
I could have held on to your heart.
Oh,
Phil, sorry.
I feel bad he's breaking apart the pictures of the person. Like at these, I wouldn't be breaking apart all my pictures of you, looking so long at these pictures of you, but I never hold on to your heart. He's like, it's just kind of sad. It's just this idea of just ripping up the last bits of tangible bits. I mean, sure, there's memories and all that, but I feel like because he's been looking at the pictures for so long, like that's like what he now all he remembers is just what happened in the picture. So it's kind of sad. It's just
it is sad. Maybe he'll do that Eternal Sunshine operation and have it all deleted.
Just eviscerated from your mind and your memory. Just take it all away. Maybe.
You might say he's just closing down any memories of this person, right?
One might say that, yes. That's basically the same segue I was going to go for. So Close Down is a funny and interesting song because it's a 4-minute song comprised of 7 lines. And I find that as well, it's like what you were just saying, Jeff, though, that like it is like I think it's like 2 minutes or a minute and a half, and then the words finally come in, and then it's like the words are not there long. Like we're not talking a lot in this song, and then it goes into another like orchestral piece. It is like such a ebb and flow of like again a liquid reference.
It is.
That it is just this constant liquid reference.
It is this boat ride in a way. Like think of it. I don't want to say like Splash Mountain, but you kind of go in, you kind of slowly meandering through. I mean, obviously the album builds up and you go down the slide, but you could think of it as a log flume.
Well,
run out of time here. He is.
Well, that's the thing, and it's like by having so few lyrics, it really makes the lyrics important, right? Like it's like like the title "Close Down." Like I don't even like. What does that mean?
It's funny. I had to look it up because you know me. It means suspend operations. So it's like you're closing down whatever this is.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like titles are important, right? We say it all the time. So I'm like, he's closing. I'm out of step and closing down. He is ceasing operations on this relationship, on himself. Like, what's he closing down on? That's one thing I was like, I'm on the fence with. What do you think?
So in doing some research, what came up a lot was, and I guess this is important autobiographically for Robert Smith, is he was recording this album at 29, and he was feeling that once you're 30, you can no longer, I guess, make great art because you're old. So I think this song is, from what I've read, is really about that feeling of like he's literally running out of time to create his masterpiece or his art or something. Like it's once you're 30, you can't create anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I read up too. It was just like, I mean, to me, I didn't realize this was at 30, but and this is his 8th album at 30 too.
Yeah,
that's a lot to bust out in before he turned 30. Yeah,
he was also in Susie and the Banshees early on. Like
it's true. Yeah, you're right.
His output, it was like absolutely incredible. So I don't know why he's feeling bummed about this.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, it's just, that's such pressure to put on yourself, honestly, to be like, I have to put out a masterpiece by the time I'm 30. I'm like, shit, man, I wasn't even like a fully thought about adult yet by the time I was 30. And I'm like, and I'm out trying to put out a masterpiece. No, my masterpiece will come out when I'm 50. I'm gonna go with 50 when that's my masterpiece.
I'm not even gonna be ageist. I think we can put out masterpieces at 102.
Or 5. I've seen
Yeah.
such great artwork by children, and I'm like, this is amazing to see how this is how
Yeah.
they interpret the world. Why not?
So basically, we just want to like give 29-year-old Robert Smith a hug and say it's going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay. Just keep repeating that. Like we're gonna do a full Goodwill Hunting scene right here, and we're just gonna say it's gonna be okay. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
One of the other things too to keep in mind too is I think this was the album before he got married. So in a
Mhm.
way, it's kind of like closing that chapter of that single life that he had. And
Well, I'm really
But-
happy you just said that,
Yeah.
because the next song is a song written directly for his bride to be.
Beyonce, yeah.
So
They were
that's-
together for a very long time, even
Long time.
before. Like they've been together since they were teens, I think, right? Something like that.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
had to be, if considering he's 29 and he's busting out 8 albums in that time frame. They had to meet when they were kids.
Oh yeah. Mary Poole, right? Yeah, that's what she is.
Yes.
Yeah. She's
Yes.
super cool. Yeah, and I feel like she's a muse throughout Cure albums, since
Mhm.
you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, so Close Down, incredible. Love Song is, probably one of the most famous Cure songs. It's been covered many times.
Many
Mhm.
times.
311 had a surprisingly fantastic, not shouldn't say surprising. It is a fantastic cover.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I was like, well, that's right, 311.
Yeah.
311 covered it.
Yeah.
A very straight cover for them. I mean,
Yeah.
a little of their sound in it, but a
Style,
pretty
yeah.
straight, pretty straight cover.
It's really, I mean, but you know what? It is important because I feel like it is because when you have 311 and then doing that song, it opens it up to a lot of people, right? And they covered it for 50 First Dates
Right.
was the
Is that
actual,
what it was?
I think so, yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
So
Adam
that-
Sandler and who? Who else? Who was in that?
That's Drew Barrymore. It's another Drew
Drew
Barrymore. That's the weird one where she has
Oh,
amnesia,
Yeah, she
or
like,
she has that
short-term.
condition, no
yeah.
short-term memory, and forgets everything like next day. So like, I don't know. I watched it recently for the first time in a while, and I'm like, this doesn't feel great what they're doing. Kind of manipulating, not in a bad way, but Adele covered it as well.
Oh.
Also, that's a huge new fan base. So like, I think it's a great song to cover because it is a very straightforward pop song.
Mhm.
It doesn't have a ton of
Okay.
lyrics. It's a lot of repetition, but like it works, right? It's just a solid song. But you know what's interesting though? This album is so gloomy, and this song is not. Like, you know what I mean? This song is heartfelt.
It is, and it's about like I've always loved Love Song. I mostly because I feel like it's a really unpretentious love song.
Yeah.
Because it's very, I would say, very nitty gritty. Because just it's the chorus that always gets to me. It's like no matter how far away I get, so the distance between, because they're gonna go out on tour and the significant other's not, and they're gonna stay at home. So like there's always gonna be that distance. And then, but what always got me is no matter what I say, so even if I'm at my worst
Yeah.
and maybe angriest, and I say all these horrible things, I always love you. I will always love you, no matter what happens. This, I've always appreciated that honesty. And it's not pretty. It's
Yeah.
much more realistic, I
Mhm.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you were saying too, like this is the pop song of the album, the clear cut single, but it fits so much, even with it being much more of a positive kind of set of lyrics and things like that. Without this song, is this album better or worse? And I think it needs this.
I think it
song.
needs
It needs
to
that
break.
positivity. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to break. This was actually the third single, not
Yeah,
even the lead single. This is
Isn't
a
that
complete
crazy?
thing.
This is
Yeah.
the third single. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like the most traditional pop song. But you know what, Devin, I think you're hitting it right in the head. Like for the doom and gloom to really, to the anguish and pain that the rest of the album's feeling, I need to understand why. And if there is a loss of love, if this is the song where they're showing you how much they love this person, like
Mhm.
you need to feel that so you could feel the loss of it, I feel like.
You feel the heartache. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't appreciate sunny days without a few gloomy ones, right? And vice versa. Can't appreciate gloomy days without some sunny ones. So it's like, hence why I think this song is here. And also, it's a great song. Like, why not? If you can write a good song like this, why not write it?
Oh, absolutely. Do you think vampires have a problem with always having gloomy days? I feel like they like that. Sunny days, not so good for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Can they go out and outside on a rainy day?
Yeah, no sunlight.
Okay. But
Yeah,
the sunlight is still kind of there. Not
That's true. Is it
necessarily-
is it UV radiation that kills vampires? Is that what we're talking about? So in that case, but if that's the case, then they could just wear sunblock like in Blade, right?
Yeah. Well,
True.
why not kill vampires with sunbeds, right? Just walk around.
That's what I'm saying. Love Song is the band's highest charting single in the US. Reached number 2 in 1989.
2 in 1989. That is high.
Yeah, this was the biggest song they ever had, I think. From what I understand. Other thing in the research, despite the song's success, Robert Smith had mixed feelings about the track.
Really?
He expressed his satisfaction finally feeling comfortable enough to write a straightforward love song, and feels the song keeps Disintegration from only having one mood, presumably gloom.
That's a good point. No,
And
mhm.
at one point called it the weakest song on the album, and was disappointed that it was the band's breakthrough single in the US.
Well, it's
Just-
approachable. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I hope he's changed his tune, hopefully, on this thought.
It's definitely not the weakest song on the album. I'll tell you that. No.
No, it's a pretty perfect song. Like, I mean, like,
As far as music, it is a perfect pop, like one of the perfect pop songs. It really is. And I don't know. I guess like I was saying, I like it because I think it's a different way of writing of a love song. It's not over the nose. It's not like, I don't know. It's grounded as a love song. And honestly, I think that's how it should be. I think that's a much more realistic love song is when it's more grounded like this, right? It's not
grounded, earnest, genuine. It's just we gotta play it. So
yeah, let's go and play that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Love Song by The Cure. And that was Love Song. And now we're gonna have a dance. A last dance.
Be the last dance. So I pulled an we use a football term, I'll use audible. Pulled an audible. I stacked the deck, we use a Vegas term.
A lot of metaphors being thrown around.
A lot of metaphors being thrown around. Well, I mean, we're doing a Cure stuff, so I gotta kind of go. Although they don't really do a lot of metaphors, just the tone and the vibe of the song. But anyhow, Last Dance did not appear on the original release on the vinyl. This is one of the bonus tracks that were added on. I said we were going to do one of the two. I picked this one, so I have stacked the deck. So let's talk about The Last Dance. And mostly I want to talk about it because I feel like it has a very 80s vibe. When I hear this song, honestly, I feel like this is a song version of the book and then later movie Lesson Zero.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
Like, it's just the way the book presents the 80s, the early 80s, and the way to a lesser extent the movie did. Although I feel like the movie is actually pretty good on its own. When you don't compare it to the book, you got to keep them separate. Like Fight Club, you got to keep them separate. I think the movie's actually pretty good, and it's also got early Robert Downey Jr., which is always a good thing to have. Anywho, I feel like listening to the song, it makes me think of this kind of glam but dark world that I feel the Cure fits in nicely.
Yeah. The K that's underneath, but this gloss coat that is the 80s. Yeah.
Like there's like a veneer. Like because it's shiny and kind of pretty, but deep when you peel it back a little bit, it gets really dark really quick. Like because I think that's kind of one of the points of the song. It's just this. You remembered our last dance. It's the end of a relationship. We're growing up, so like there's a veneer when you look at it. But when you start peeling it back, you realize how kind of dark it is.
Do you think this is like a song where it's about the protagonist is reconnecting with somebody from a past love from when they were younger? That's what I feel from it now. And there's kind of like this like they're seeing each other again, and things are obviously different now because they're older and this was a long time ago.
And I feel like it's someone reconnecting with someone else and like looking back at what they were like, because like the line I look at you now, you woman now standing where once there was only a girl. And I think it's talking about growing up and that there's changes that have happened.
Mhm. But also yet again speaks to Robert Smith turning 30, right?
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Growing older, growing up.
I will also say I love the use of the word abasement in this song.
Yeah, no, it hangs in a basement, not just the basement.
Not the basement, but a basement of humiliation. Yeah.
I mean, it's again, it's the use of words. You get the most amount of image with the least amount of words.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song, and gloomy, as was the directive.
But admittedly, it does feel like an add-on, as a song. So I can see why this is a bonus track and not a part of the main storyline. Because it does feel like it's something tucked in, which I find funny that it's tucked in here, not at just thrown on the end. Like it's actually tucked in between Love Song and the next song after that.
Well, it's funny because after a love song, you know what I'm in the mood for? A really creepy lullaby.
A really creepy lullaby. Like, what is up with this song?
Lullaby is the song we're talking about. My spidey sense warned me we were about to get into a creepy lullaby.
Because you're like, oh, there's Spider-Man, like cool. He's like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's gonna go through the parts of Queens, like everything's gonna be okay. But no, it's not okay.
I don't know.
Not okay.
I'm guessing you might have had the same problem with this song where I hear Spider-Man. I have a very
it's like a visceral
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the old webhead. This is not the Spider-Man in this song.
No, this is not. I mean, maybe this is the Spiders Man, which is the later version of Spider-Man, where it's like Spider-Man made up of spiders underneath the costume. But like, I don't know. This is creepy. Did you know this was a single?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
In the UK, this is a single. What is up with the English if this is going to be a single? I don't know. Song makes no sense.
They like their atmosphere, man. I mean,
I guess
the tone this song sets, the visual picture of the Spider-Man creeping into the bedroom, and they just I guess they like it dark and gloomy there. I mean,
I guess.
Yeah.
It's like the weather over there, I guess. I mean, Robert Smith talked about it was like an homage to his dad writing, making up lullabies, and he said that basically in a nutshell that the lullaby would always end like, "And you better go to bed or I'm going to eat you." And it's like, I mean, look, I've told lullabies to my kids. I don't think these are like grim like grim fairy tales kind of lullaby, or I don't know.
I love the visuals again. The candy striped legs, the Spider-Man comes. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I hear that, I immediately think of like a Tim Burton stop motion kind of style, like that. I could see like something I had a Nightmare Before Christmas almost, like Spider-Man, not Spider-Man Peter Parker, but Monster Spider-Man.
Monster Spider-Man. I don't. Why is this? Let me just ask a question. Why is this song here on this album? It feels like such a standout because every other song is about a relationship or like interactions between people. But here you have like an allegory out of nowhere about a Spider-Man who is always hungry.
It could be reminiscing about childhood. And again, let's go back to him like, I'm going to be turning 30. I'm getting old. Let me think back to even before my 20s, my teens. Like what did I experience as a child, and what am I going to be yearning for? And as I get older, like.
So is the Spider-Man like his fear of failure that's eating him tonight? Like,
could be, yeah. I think there's also something. I think going back to what you said, Phil, like why on this album. When I hear the word lullaby and I think about going to sleep and hearing a lullaby, I think of security and safety. Yeah. Like your parents or a grandparent or whoever adult who watches over you as a child will sing you a lullaby to ease you into sleep and remind you you're loved and like you're safe. And in this album where everything seems to be falling apart for his heart, the lullaby is a nightmare.
Like
there is no security.
There is no security. I'm like, that's just it's now we're adding like a bleak element to this. This is, I mean, no security is a very bleaky feeling. And also that just said that what popped in my head when you talk about that was when Jefferson Airplane did White Rabbit as a song about the psychedelic drugs, which is but a reference to Alice in Wonderland. So like how even in a book like Alice in Wonderland, like they're talking about you know, transcendent kind of drugs in that book. And I guess that's kind of what I was just thinking here, where you're taking a lullaby, which is supposed to be meaning one thing, but kind of flipping it on its head.
And also speaking to the psychedelic drugs, reading into this album a little bit more, Robert Smith got back into doing psychedelics for this album. So it's all that kind of, you know, that I don't want to say fantasy world, but like, you know, whatever it is that you experience in that kind of a mindset.
Yeah.
You
No, I was like, he opened up those pathways with the psychedelics, and you know, he saw a Spider-Man monster.
Something creeped out.
I don't know, man. If I was on psychedelics and I saw a Spider-Man monster, I don't think I'd probably shit a brick. I don't even, you know, I don't know if I would be able to handle that one.
You wouldn't fight the Spider-Man with your bare hands?
No, I'd probably like put wait, am I in a bed or am I just like out like in the middle of the field?
You're in bed. Spider-Man just crawled in.
Then I'm going to try to put my covers over my head like I did when I was 7 and try to pretend this isn't happening. That I don't see any of this. This song it's out there, man. And
I also want to note, I love the guitar string picking sound, which makes me just
that's everything.
It's the spider legs on the web, right? Like it's like that. It's such a great use of that sound.
Yeah, I always wondered, is it guitar or is it actually like a violin being plucked?
It might be, yeah. I'm not even sure. It's some string is being plucked, and it's you know, throughout the song, and it's kind of the hook of the song.
It is,
yeah.
And but it even adds to it adds to the overall creepiness of the song. It's just creepy. Like we're gonna take a moment into Creepville for and otherwise we're down gloomy street.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up Street. And Phil, I'm not gonna scare you. We're not gonna listen to Lullaby, but everyone should listen to it after we finish the podcast. Go listen to Lullaby. Listen to the whole album, really. But check out the Spider-Man. And do not send the Spider-Man to New Hampshire.
No, thank you.
Even if you are mad at what Phil has said in the past, do not send the Spider-Man. Instead, we're gonna turn our fascination or fascinations to a street called Fascination Street.
Can we just talk about the bass on this song for a minute?
Sure.
Like the bass on this song, man. That's all I want to say. I was just gonna keep repeating that. It's the bass on this song. It is like, yeah. This
is the song that got me into this album.
Yeah.
I heard this and I was like, I have to get this.
It's funny. There's not many songs where I think the bass I feel is the star of the song. Sure, you can do Another One Bites of Dust by Queen, and I feel anything that Carl from the Descendants, every Descendants song has a great bass riff into it, and then Carl kills it. He's an amazing bassist. Or the bass line from London Calling coming out of the gate with that, just a boom, boom, boom. I think this one, it's so subtly the star of the song, and I think it's an awesome backbone for the entire song that it just keeps it all together, which is hilarious because it's a song about like having a very ruckus time in New Orleans, right? Thank you. That I feel like there's this awesome, wonderful connective tissue throughout it. It's the bass. It's fantastic. And sounds like the street. It sounds like the street. It sounds very urban, the whole song.
Yes, it definitely does. This is the first US single.
Okay, this makes sense.
So this was not just Devin's first song on this album here, but in 1989, the people were hearing this song and being like, what? And it again opens with a big musical intro, right? Long build. As you said, the bass, I find the music to be hypnotic and macabre is how I would describe it. Like the hypnotic part of it comes in. It's a very the bass is so menacing.
It's like a character in the story.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it is. There's like this menace to it. I love the backdrop in New Orleans because I feel like there's a lot of like voodoo is big up in New Orleans, right? Is that a thing, or am I making that up?
No, it is. It is.
It is, right? So there's kind of like the macabre. So Jeff said you used the word macabre. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
That there's like this macabre element to New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans, so folks from New Orleans, you can hit me up at in New Hampshire. Just don't send me Spider-Mans. I'm not gonna
Spider-Man
just not.
voodoo dolls.
No, I'm not gonna do well with candy striped Spider-Mans being sent to me in the mail. Not gonna go well with that. No.
Yeah. So this is we're going out on the town basically in this,
Right,
and
right.
it's it's like I guess it was inspired by Bourbon Street, and was that the place, right? New Orleans.
Yes. Yeah.
But in the world of the album and the song, like I think of this as like this like nightmare city. You know what I mean? Like, especially coming off a lullaby. If the Spider-Man didn't eat the person, now they're off to this nightmare world. And Fascination Street is like almost like, I guess it's like in Pinocchio, Pleasure Island.
Right?
But
Yeah.
but Fascination Street's the goth version of that in my mind.
Because there's a line where he even says like to kick the last nail in, right? The last nail in the coffin. Like this is it. And it's interesting. This finishes the side one of the album. And side two is a whole little story that we'll get to. But so I think it's like there's a very we've talked about earlier about set pieces, and I feel the side one, side A has the set pieces to the big story that kind of happens in side B. And this is the song that kind of connects everybody together, that we're at the end of the line, I guess, because we're like I said, nail in the last one of the coffin. Presumably we're kind of going to go out on this like creepy city bender thing, and we'll see where we end up on the other side.
Yeah.
That I love this. So many lines I love, but I love for quite what goes in, or to care what comes out. So just pull on your hair, just pull on your pout. Like, pull on your, cut the conversation, just open your mouth, pull on your face, pull on your feet, and let's hit opening time down in Fascination Street. It's like getting ready to go to the goth club almost. Like, pull on your pout. I love that.
Well, I read into this and I'm like, oh, it's a song about drinking. I'm like, I always read this as like debauchery and hookers in a way.
Well,
I mean, obviously the two can mix, but
yeah. The pull and the pout thing is funny because it implies that the pout is a mask. It's something you don't do all the time. It's not who you really are. It's something you put on.
You got to put on the pout.
That's kind of where I got the hooker aspect of it. You're putting on a face to kind of go out on the town to do your things, right?
Yeah. Why is it called Fascination Street? Why is it what's on the streets that's fascinating? Or is it just again allegory?
And the algorithm allegory.
Yeah. I mean, the fascination, I mean, there's this darkness, and aren't we fascinated by like macabre dark things?
Morbid curiosity. Yeah.
Morbid curiosity, that's a good way. Yeah. That's the fascination, I think.
And also other people's actions too.
Yeah.
Always the person sitting back at the table at the bar, just watching everyone else get drunker and drunker, and just seeing the whole scene kind of.
Yeah, you could be the observer. You could be the person who's just kind of taking it all in and be like, what is happening here?
That's usually the person I'm most worried about, is that one person at the bar who's just quietly taking it all in. I'm like, what are you doing over there?
Enjoying yourself.
All right, Phil. Geez, you don't have to like be so mean about how my bar habits go. Just there to think. There to have a soda water and think.
On Fascination Street, yes.
On Fascination Street. Can we play Fascination Street?
You better. That's
All
how I say that. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, here is Fascination Street by The Cure. And that was Fascination Street. And we've been sitting here praying for rain, and now we got it. We got Prayers for Rain next.
Prayers for Rain. It's also
we need to wash the filth off of us. Is now
take a hot minute. Let's get all of the Bourbon Street, Fascination Street off of us. Perhaps the Spider-Man stuff get off of us as well. Prayers for Rain is also the name of a Dennis Lehane book.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think there's any connection between the two. At least I don't think.
I know. I never read it.
Yeah, just if you like Gone Baby Gone, same author of Gone Baby
Yeah,
Gone.
yeah, yeah.
It's in that same vein. I think it's actually the book that precedes Gone Baby Gone, if I remember right.
Uh, but this song, what I really take out of it, this song, it to me it tells you what depression feels like. There's a lot of imagery of like suffocation. I breathe in dirt. Hours all spent on killing time again, all waiting for the rain, like of hopelessness and prayers for rain. Like this song feels like someone is suffering from depression.
It wants something nurturing. I think that's the point of the
Yeah.
water. So yeah, the next 3-4 songs I feel are a story altogether. They kind of, so I kind of feel like side B is a 4-part harmony story. This being the start of it. And yes, I feel like there is the word I keep going back to is like a misery, that there's a misery here where, because like, why would you pray for rain, right? And I feel the reason why you do that is because it's dry. You know,
Yeah,
even
you're a
says I am
farmer.
dirt.
You need to water your
You need
crops.
water, right? I live in dirt. So I feel like he's just asking for something that is going to nurture him, maybe help him grow, because he's been shattered now. He shattered me, he grip on me, holding me so dull it kills. Tell you, it's sometimes the lyrics are just so wonderfully over the top.
Yeah.
And you can see where like the Billy Corgans of the world come from, because you can definitely feel that with this. Not a shot at Billy. Maybe it is, but I think that's he's water is letting it grow a little bit. Maybe that's where Billy gets it from. But there's just a little wonderful over the topness with this.
Oh, and Billy Corgan, if you're listening, please feel free to send the Spider-Man to Phil in New Hampshire for insulting you.
Oh, he will.
The whole water metaphor too. Think about it in terms of like, I don't want to say biblical or religious, but like it's a rebirth. It's a renewal kind of a thing. Wash away your sins, and be reborn. So it could be, and that whole metaphor of that coming throughout this entire album.
It doesn't seem like a good relationship though. It just doesn't seem like it's the smart move to get in deeper with this one.
Yeah. Maybe praying for rain is not a good idea here.
That's like, it's like, sure, it's nurturing, but like nurturing, like maybe the bad things. I don't know. There's a definite macabre element to this, like kind of a dark element to this. I'm like, I don't know. You want to keep going with this one. I don't know if that's the right idea.
Well, talk about sequencing of an album. We have the prayers for rain, and we're about to find out if it was a good idea to pray for that rain, because that rain is showing up in the next song.
It is showing up in the next song, and even audibly it shows up.
Yeah,
right.
Literally.
I mean, I love that transition. We're all
so good.
The rain comes in, and you're like, oh, okay, so I guess the rain came. So like, okay, cool. So let's see where this conversation goes a little farther. And even the name of the album, first off, emo as fuck title, Same Deep Water as You.
Yep, The Same Deep Water as You. Yeah.
How emo is that title? So here's my standard gripe about a 9-minute song. I don't know if we necessarily need 9-minute songs. But you know what? I'm gonna let it go for this. I actually enjoyed this 9-minute song.
What about if you're listening to a Green Day's American Idiot and you have a couple of 9-minute songs? How do you feel about that?
See now that one works because it's broken up into chunks, and there's like the 5 chunks of the song, and I guess this is sort of chunked out, sort of. But it's mostly about a vibe, and I think that's there's the drone, the guitar drone. I think that's what they even called it. Really kind of shines on this one.
So we start with the rain, the literal sound of the rain. We got a thunder in there. I mean, there's a storm. Like we prayed for rain in the last one, and now a storm has arrived.
Right. And I don't think it's going well in this relationship. I don't think it's going well. I feel like it's very it's like a doomed love affair. Like he even says that, like Romeo and Juliet. Like everything's kind of hot and quick, and it flies in, but I don't think it's going to end well for anybody. I don't think it's going to end well.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think it's going to end well. I mean, so as he even says, he says, kiss me goodbye before pushing out before I sleep. Can you see? I try, swimming in the same deep water as you is hard. And I think that is the most telling line in the entire song. I think this is him admitting he can't give as much as he's getting.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. And like and I don't mean it might not be how much you're putting into the relationship, but I guess it kind of is, because I see it on the emotional level. He is not able. I shouldn't use pronouns like that. The narrator is not able to emotionally be there as much as the love interest they are talking about. And I think ultimately that's what they mean by the same deep water. I can't be as deep as you. Ironic coming from Robert Smith, but I feel that's why this is such a doomed relationship. Not that necessarily it's not a negative one, or there's like, macabre kind of things going on. I just feel like they cannot put in all the effort the other person that they were receiving. And so he drowns.
Yeah.
It's basically the end of it. That's it. He drowns. He drowns at the end.
No, I can't compare to you.
He just can't. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No,
I mean, go ahead.
No, I agree 100%. Like, he just can't compare to, or the narrator cannot compare to the level that the partner is giving out, and he's just drowning in, I just can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And it's just bringing him down deeper and deeper. I mean, your point exactly, Phil. Jeff.
Yeah, the same. I mean, going back to that title, like, wants to be in the same deep water, but can't do it, right?
Just can't do it.
Well, and then and when you're falling apart, the only thing you can do is completely disintegrate.
Yeah. Every time I hear disintegration, I think of fucking Star Wars, and I go, and Darth Vader telling Boba Fett, no disintegrations. First thing I always think of.
No disintegrations.
No disintegrations. No disintegrations. So we've reached the third part of the story.
And the titular track.
And the titular track. Oh, that's right. That's a good point. I forgot about that. You know what? How stupid of me to be like, well, yeah, that's right. This is the title track. It's also the name of the album. What is happening in this song, guys?
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, first of all, let's talk about the desperation in his vocals in this song. Like, it's like he went to a different level in this song. And I also noticed doing this podcast that I love when vocals get desperate, apparently in songs, but like, I like that he hasn't pulled it out until now in this song. And it creates a different urgency to this song than other ones.
That's the word I wanted, was urgency. There's an immediacy that's needed. Yeah.
Picks up.
I mean, it's, to me, from what I can decipher, it seems like it's either a person who has a family, or a spouse, and they are going off and doing illicit things, whether it's drugs or going after young lovers, which is quite a stinging line there. The stench of a love for a younger meat, like, yikes.
It's just yikes, bro. I mean, you're only 29, so like, how much younger are we talking? I mean, it's just the the creeposity on that one's kind of high, but yeah, I think it's right. He's got there's his family in there. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and then there's the lines of addiction to duplicity, so like another life, like, and then addiction. I mean, is this a drug addict? I mean, there's a lot of different things. Is it cheating on people? Is it just self-destruction that this person is doing?
But I think this song is about knowing that those self-destructions are going to end you. It is, because he even says out of the gate. It says, "I miss the kiss of treachery." First off, what a great just verbiage wise, beautifully written. But it's even like, yeah, I miss the kiss. Like, it's kind of like this admittance. He's, where like because when you start off something like with, yeah, I feel like it's acknowledgement, like, because it's yes, but it's like I miss that kiss of treachery, the shameless kiss of vanity. So like it's an acknowledgement. She, the narrator, very aware of what they are doing,
Yeah.
very aware of what they're doing, and decide to keep going forward with it, even though it's not going to end well for them. Honestly, for anybody in their orbit, because he's covered everybody, and I feel like nothing good is going to come here. Hence the title. We're going to disintegrate everything.
Yeah.
Like it's all getting blown to shit real quick.
Exactly.
And going back to like them knowing what they're doing in the bridge, that portion, he has this line, "I'm crying for sympathy, crocodiles cry." So I'm faking it, right? Crocodile tears.
He's faking it, right?
Right. For the love of the crowd and the 3 cheers from everyone. So
who doesn't love a comeback story?
right.
I mean, everybody loves to see some like redemption arc in I brought up Star Wars earlier. Like everybody wanted Kylo Ren to have the wonderful redemption arc, and then he'd be a good person in the end. I'm in the camp where Kylo Ren could never be redeemed, ever, and I kind of wish he got wiped out like the original version was going to
Yeah.
be. But that's just me.
Well,
Oh,
we don't have to talk about Rise of Skywalker here.
See,
Missed,
to me,
missed
ever.
opportunity, missed
Or ever.
opportunity, or ever, missed
Yeah.
opportunity in that one. But all right, Devin, what are you gonna say?
So to me, as someone who has dealt with depression throughout most of their life, a lot of the album is, has a depressive mood. This has a manic feel to it.
Yeah.
And to me, the when you get this mania moments where it's just like I'm doing all these things, I'm going way too fast, I'm trying to like try to make myself happy, or make someone else happy. Like this song has that feeling to me when you get into those certain kinds of things. Like a lot of the other ones, it's you feel cold, you feel lost, you feel alone, and this one is just that mania occurring, and it's you try to do so much in those moments, or you try to just undo all the things that you've done in the past, and it all falls apart.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
it all disintegrates.
it all disintegrates.
And you're right, Jeff. Even the way the pleading,
The building,
and the building and the voice, and the further we get, so basically we get to like less and less words. But it's just because it ends with we both know, and both of us knew how the end always is, how the end always is, and just repeats that always is, and it's just it kind of, the more he pleads, the kind of sadder it gets. And Devin, that was great to explain that the way it is, because I think you're right. A lot of the other songs in the album are very, one note is not right, very somber, very dark, brooding a little bit. This is a different emotion coming out. You've got manic is a great way of putting it. There's an anger here. There is just a desperation, like big time in this song, you'd think this is how it would end, but it doesn't even end with this one, which I think is even kind of, although I feel like it could end here. The album could end here.
I actually wish it did. I really do.
1,000 pieces, and that's all you're left with.
Yeah, it really feels like I guess the original version, it did end this way, right?
No, there's one more after this.
There is one more. Okay.
Untitled is the official ending.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I mean, you could have ended it here for sure.
Oh, that would make this what, Jeff?
This would be the penultimate song of the Disintegration album.
I gotta tell you though, I feel like it could end here. It really could. But then, okay, let's just run this for fun. If it did end here, how would you feel about that? Like, what emotion would elicit from that?
Pretty
ending
hopeless
this way. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What do you think?
But I mean, you've been hit over the head with so much gloom this whole time. There's no. Sorry to say this. There's no cure for this. It's like this pain, right? Like this is how it's gonna end.
What do you think, Devin? So speechless.
Well, I'm lost in 1,000 pieces. I got to rebuild myself, right? I don't know what next to say.
Well, I know what to say. I say we play this song.
Oh yeah.
And just
all 8 minutes of its build up.
Another 8-minute song. But again, I think you need all of it.
Yeah.
You need all of it.
There's nothing you would cut in this song.
No.
All right, here it is. Disintegration of The Cure's Disintegration. All right, we're back, and now the final song,
Which doesn't even get a
name. Yeah,
Doesn't even get a name.
Well, he doesn't know what to say anymore, right?
Yeah,
Just
You know, do you think sequencing wise, do you think that how purposeful do you think that is? Knowing Robert Smith, knowing him, do you think this is like it's legitimately untitled because of we're so broken from the last song?
I kind of do. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like
It does.
and you're starting off with hopelessly adrift in the eyes of the ghost again. Like, I mean, it's
like it's not going well.
right.
Yeah, they've lost. They
lost
realize they've lost everything. Yes, they realize they lost everything. So it's the culmination of the 4-part story where they have lost everything, fully disintegrated at this point. Do you think it would have been better to even do you think this album needed this song? We just leave it at Disintegration, or do you want to go with like this one more? Just
I think it needs a bit of resolution.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be, it would be ending on a tragic note if it was Disintegration. It needs to have something to kind of just put you back into a place, whether it is hopeless, whether it is positive. It needed something. But I mean, to me, I think this is a fantastic song. I think this really kind of helps cap the album. But I mean, it is an interesting thought to end it on Disintegration. But
no, I think Devin, I while we were talking about Disintegration, like, oh, we should end it here. But now I'm like, no, I like what you just said. It kind of brings it, like, if Disintegration is the metaphor, ultimately, like, it's nice to come back and ground us again to like a little reality.
See, that was now I got a question for you. If this Disintegration, I love it, and Jeff and we've come across this a couple times where a name of the song is the name of the album. Name of the album is Disintegration. Do you feel that should be the name of the album? And if not, is there another song title here that you think would be better as the name of the album?
I think Disintegration is the title for the right title for this album.
Yeah,
because that is the arc, right?
Right.
Of what's going to happen to us as we go through this. We are going to disintegrate.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's that log flume.
Yeah.
You build up and you go into, you splash down, thousands of droplets of water just spread all over the place. Like, that's, to me, you need Disintegration is the title. Like, you can't be love song. That's not, the album is not love song. The album is not pictures of you. The album together as a whole is, going through this whole journey of sadness, and then you get to this point that's built up, everything falls apart. That's Disintegration.
The only song I may entertain is Fascination Street as the name of an album. I feel like that has an album name kind of feel to it. But I agree with the both of you that Disintegration is the point of the album, and that should you name it anything different, takes away from the story or the overall feeling of the album, because it's like, it's Fascination Street, I think, works as a title, but not for this album.
No, I think Fascination Street would make a great title for an album, but I would then want the songs to all be about the things we're seeing on the street.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So having it be Disintegration as it makes sense for the theme of the album. Just something at the end is kind of a little bit of hope, but I don't think we're getting it.
No, there's no hope here.
No.
You're not coming to this Cure album for hope.
So if this was a Star Wars movie, this would be Star Wars Episode 4, No Hope.
There it is.
There you go. All right. That's the album.
That is
in its 70-something minute glory or gloomy all the time.
I'm just flipping through some lyrics, and I caught this thing. It says, in 2014, Billboard described Disintegration's last track, Untitled, as so depressing that Smith couldn't even give it a name. I'm
there
like,
it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. See, that's what I mean. Like, you didn't even want to touch it. It's like, we'll call it Untitled and just tack it. But it doesn't feel tacked on.
No.
At all. It totally connects to the rest of the album. I just love that they didn't even want to bother titling it.
It's so funny. I guess we come back to this whenever we listen to any sad songs. I love sad songs. I love sad albums. I love Misery. Misery loves company. I don't love Misery, but like, why is this album cathartic? Because it is very. I mean, it's gloomy. It's so gloomy always, and it doesn't give you a light at the end. So why do we love it so much?
It's the feeling. Like,
yeah,
you feel so connected to this kind of album in a different way. Like, there are people, like, sometimes it's the energy, like a good punk album. Sometimes it's like, just the beat, and really kind of like, okay, this is a great like running album or something like that. But like this just hits you here in your heart, and it just kind of, it wraps it in this like cold, wet embrace. But it feels okay. And it really kind of, it feels comforting in a way. And that's why I love these types of albums. So like, it feels okay to be sad.
Yeah. You feel seen, and you feel, validated. Your
Mm-hmm.
experience is validated. You're not the only one.
Kurt Cobain talked about the comfort and sadness. So,
Mhm.
why not? All right. I now want to, we've completed the album. We've talked about some individual tracks, and I would like to ask you guys some questions specifically to the tracks. Jeff,
Yes.
what do you think is the best song on the album? Best song.
I'm going back and forth on this one a little bit, because I know what the most beloved song is, and I know what is. I described it as a perfect pop song, but I actually think the best song is Disintegration.
That's a good call. Good call.
Yeah.
Devin, what do you think?
Fascination Street. I mean, to me, that's the song that I was like, I gotta get this album. I mean, to me, it still connects. Like, it is, to me, the best album, or the best track on this album. I mean, there are some that compete, but like, hands down, like, if I want to find one song in this album, Fascination Street, and that's why.
That you hit it right on the nail of the head. It's Fascination. I like Fascination Street, and it's exactly what you just said. It's singular. If I take the one singular song, I got to go with Fascination Street. It also, for me, it was a song I was like, oh, I got to check this out. This is cool. I like that. This is there's something interesting here. Good point. I'd agree. Now, if I could say, give me a 4-pack of songs, that I would do side B. But I'm gonna go with Fascination Street. Jeff, let's go the other way. What song are you skipping on this album?
I'm skipping Last Dance.
Last Dance.
It's a good song. Don't get me wrong. Again, this is one of those situations where like I like all these songs, but I think the fact that it was kind of added on later is interesting, and so I kind of don't need it.
It might not have been added on later. They might have put all these songs together in sequence and then gone, oh crud, we're way over our
right. Yeah, you're right.
What do we cut out
That's
to
true.
kind of get it to be that length?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Devin, what about you? What would you say is your skip song?
So I generally skip Lullaby. I don't mind being creeped out, but to me, I don't want to be like, what gets me closer to Fascination Street, but I skip this, I'm there, right? So yeah, I kind of skip over Lullaby if I am skipping a track.
Devin, you and I are 2 for 2. I'm skipping Lullaby in a heartbeat because I'm like, 1, I just don't like it, and then 2, I don't get why it's here, and 3, let's just get the Fascination Street. Exactly. I mean, honestly, Jeff, what is the sleeper song for you? What is the one song people are sleeping on?
I think you guys just proved my point with Lullaby.
There ain't sleeping with that track.
Yeah. That song is crazy.
That song is great.
It's a crazy song. It's such a cool sound. I don't know why I know he was aware of the Amazing Spider-Man in 1989 or 88 when he wrote this. I don't know why he just called it the Spider-Man, but here we are. Give me the monster.
Could be a British colloquialism. Who knows?
It could be.
Jeff, I don't think that's happened since we did My Chemical Romance. That was the last time that happened, where the sleeper was the one the other 2 skipped on.
Yep.
That was Teenagers, by the way. You guys were sleeping on Teenagers, and I was right. Devin,
See,
You were gonna sleep on a song. Oh, even funnier, Jeff. Sleep as a lullaby. That's even funnier. If you were
I'm
gonna
very
sleep
funny.
on,
I'm very
yeah,
funny.
very funny. It's a sleeper song, Devin. What for you is a sleeper song?
see, to me, it's Disintegration because I think if people listen to the album all the way through, they get to, because there are songs with such length, they're not really getting to the 10th track, and
Okay.
like to me that yet again that encapsulates the entire track of the arc of the album. But yeah, it just to me like I don't think people know it as much as the other tracks. I mean, obviously everyone knows Fascination Street, everyone knows Love Song, everyone knows Pictures of You. Like to me, like that is one that so musically is fascinating to listen to.
Devin, you and I were so close to being 3 for 3.
Oh, I was gonna say we're mind melding.
And we are. I know it's very close. Nearly the same reasoning behind it, but I went one song earlier, and it's the same Deep Water as you. That was the one for me. The People Sleeping On. And it was the same basic principle. I feel like all the big hits out of it, and you get this wonderful. Just if you like just played the last 4 songs together, just as like a one song kind of thing. There's it's such a beautiful little sequence. But for me, I feel like you get the meat of the story, not the whatever it is of young meat, but the meat of the story in Some Deep Water as You. I feel like that's where the realization that they can't be as good as or give as much as they're getting, and I think that's kind of what leads to the disintegration. So I feel like it just is a stepping stone of that, but essentially the same reasoning with you. It's just they don't spend enough time to get to these songs. Wow, that's it. So we were close. We were pretty close that last. Yeah, with Fascination and Lullaby. Lullaby, man. I'm gonna have to try it again, I guess. Maybe
Well, when the Spider-Man comes tonight, when you're trying to sleep,
the one sent by Billy Corgan.
that's the one.
Yeah,
That's the one. So, so that's it. That's the album. I want to do a quick thank you to Devin. Devin,
no
thank you for
problem.
coming on the show. I want to say a quick thanks to the executive producer, Megan, my wife, who doesn't wish me to disintegrate. At least I don't think. But who knows? Maybe she keeps that quiet. Maybe it's a lullaby of hers. Who knows? Friends, check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, where we are right now, as well as what I do Instagram. So we also have Facebook, and we do a little bit of Threads, just a little bit, not a lot, an inkling of Threads.
Well, are you the part of the 100 million that have kind of dropped off?
Yeah, I might be in that group. Actually, I'm in there twofold because I'm in there as myself, and then as well as the Millennial Diner podcast, and it kind of, we post on Friday that the album's out. And I feel that's about as much as it needs right now. I'm just saying. Jeff,
You're not part of. Are you part of the X crowd? Right.
No. Oh no. Certainly to
kill them all.
No, I'm oh God, that's gonna fail. But or maybe I'm wrong and it's gonna be amazing. But no, we are not a part of the X crowd.
It's not a tweet anymore. Is it an X?
What is it? It's not a tweet. What is it?
Yeah.
And a letter? I don't get it anyway. Jeff, tell me how easy it is to have a podcast on Spotify.
Well, it's so easy. Spotify, podcasting on Spotify has a whole platform, makes it really easy to do this. And you drop in songs. So if you want to do an entire podcast on the Spider-Man and just talk to people who've been attacked by the Spider-Man, you could do that. And you could play Lullaby on your podcast. So make your own podcast.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you want to play Lullaby?
Yeah, we should probably end with Lullaby.
Okay. We'll just play Lullaby at the end. So everybody at home, sweet dreams.
And that was Lullaby. Hope you enjoyed the creepy lullaby.
It's just creepy. And creepy is all I'm going to say. You know what also is creepy, Jeff?
Would it be the album cover?
The album cover where Roger's just staring at me. So folks at home on Spotify, you can't see it like I can, but folks on YouTube, you certainly can see it. Over Jeff's shoulder, his right shoulder, is just the 2 eyes of Roger staring at us, and of Robert, and it's been the whole show staring at me.
Yeah.
It's a really creepy cover. Yeah.
Why is it just him on the cover?
Because
why not the whole band?
Because he's the icon.
He is the Cure in a way.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
Parts come in, parts come out. Interchangeable, but he is the the engine that drives everything.
It's just staring at me. It's just this creepy
Well,
little thing.
and it's a really interesting picture of him because it's like you don't really get his full hair, and his hair is
Right.
very iconic. But you have the red lips, the lipstick,
Yeah,
right?
that stands
Yeah.
out.
That stands out. But the way the picture is kind of scratched up and stuff, like is this a picture from pictures of you that's being broken apart?
It could be, or like it, or disintegrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even put that together during the thing. The pictures are being disintegrated, aren't they? Yeah. It's just if it's a cover, I think works very well for the intent of the album. It is a very visual representation of the album.
So I had that as my backdrop. If you are seeing this on YouTube, Devin has a backdrop of a fictional ska band that we once created called Screw Beagles. I like to visit a fictional diner, and I like to have a fictional ska band, the Screw Beagles.
Oh yes. So this was
Beatles.
So this was a senior year of high school. It was you, me, and Biggie. We were going to be in this fictional ska band, playing Fisher Price instruments. So I think I was on drums. I think Jeff, you had the guitar, and Biggie was going to be the horn.
Yep.
But Jeff came up with this. Let me go this way. This illustration, and we made it in high school. Silk screened it, and this was our band logo. So Screw Beagles. So everyone who's been watching me and just says "screw" over my shoulder, right?
Like what?
But
yeah. Also, the big plan was we were going to cover other songs and then have the original bands recover our cover, so we can get away with releasing albums of the actual song.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it was brilliant.
I appreciate the eyes are very much like Simpson eyes, and they don't look the same way. They're looking sideways like that. I feel like, did you guys do that on purpose?
Well, Jeff is the illustrator.
Well, there's clearly a screw going through this poor dog's head.
That's also true.
Yeah. So
where did you come up with Screw Beagles?
So where does any great idea come from?
It was a movie line, wasn't it, or something like that?
Was it? I don't think so. I think it was just a name that sounded like a ska band name to me.
It does sound like a ska band.
I thought there was some kind of weird movie reference, and we kind of morphed it into Screw Beagles.
It's possible.
And Screw, 25 plus years ago. Who knows?
Well, Jeff, there's still hope. Unlike this album we just listened to, where there's no hope, but there's still hope that one day you could do the Screw Beagles.
We can reform.
Well, we'll probably get a lot of money to do a reunion show of a band we never.
I've already got the artwork.
Yeah,
the original artwork.
We'll be at Riot Fest headlining in about a year or two, so get ready.
Get ready. You heard it here, folks. 2 years from now, Jeff and Devin are going to be, and Biggie are going to be headlining Riot Fest in Chicago in next 2 years.
Fisher Price to instruments. I got to get my drum back.
If you were going to cover one of the songs from this album, what song would you cover?
Oh, dear God. I don't know if
as a ska song?
As a ska song.
That's a great question.
Oh, man.
I'm getting better at being an interviewer.
You know what? I'm going to do plain song. I'm going to do a magical, whimsical ska. Replace the beautiful music with horns in the beginning. Yeah.
You could do Lullaby as a ska song, right?
It practically is one.
Yeah.
It'd be like upbeat and exciting about this thing coming to eat you.